Hey, third grade. So today to start off our week, we're going to work on Stuart Little novel study day 5, and we will be on chapter 6 today. So it is called A Fair Breeze. So I'm going to read some of the chapter with you. It's a little bit of a longer chapter, so I will read to about page 33, and then I will let you finish the chapter reading it on your own. Okay, so, here we go. One morning when the wind was from the west, Stuart put on his sailor suit and his sailor hat, took his spyglass down from the shelf, and set out for a walk full of the joy of life and the fear of dogs. With a rolling gait, he sauntered along towards Fifth Avenue, keeping a sharp lookout. Whenever he spied a dog through his glass, Stuart would hurry to the nearest doorman, climb his trouser leg, and hide in the tails of his uniform. And once, when no doorman was handy, he had to crawl into yesterday's paper and roll himself up in the second section till danger was past. At the corner of Fifth Avenue, there were several people waiting for the uptown bus, and Stuart joined them. Nobody noticed him because he wasn't tall enough to be noticed. I'm not tall enough to be noticed, thought Stuart, yet I'm tall enough to want to go to 72nd Street. When the bus came into view, all of the men waved their canes and briefcases at the driver, and Stuart waved his spyglass. Then, knowing that the step of the bus would be too high for him, Stuart seized hold of the cuff of a gentleman's pants and swung aboard without any trouble or inconvenience whatsoever. Stuart never paid any fare on buses because he wasn't big enough to carry an ordinary dime. The only time he had ever attempted to carry a dime, he had rolled the coin along like a hoop while he raced along beside it. But it had gotten away from him on a hill and had been snatched up by an old woman with no teeth. After that experience, Stuart contented himself with the tiny coins which his father made for him out of tin foil. They were handsome little things, although rather hard to see without putting on your spectacles. When the conductor came around to collect the fares, Stuart fished in his purse and pulled out a coin no bigger than the eye of a grasshopper. "What's that you're offering me?" asked the conductor. "It's one of my dimes," said Stuart. "Is it now?" said the conductor. "Well, I'd have a fine time explaining that to the bus company. Why, you're no bigger than a dime yourself." "Yes, I am," replied Stuart angrily. "I am more than twice as big as a dime. A dime only comes up to here on me," and Stuart pointed to his hip. "Furthermore," he added, "I didn't come on this bus to be insulted." "I beg pardon," said the conductor. "You'll have to forgive me, for I had no idea that in all the world there was such a small sailor." "Live and learn," muttered Stuart tartly putting his change purse back in his pocket. When the bus stopped at 72nd Street, Stuart jumped out and hurried across to the sailboat pond in Central Park. Over the pond the west wind blew, and into the teeth of the west wind sailed the sloops and schooners, their rails well down, their wet decks gleaming. The owners, the boys, and grown men raced around the cement shores, hoping to arrive at the other side in time to keep the boats from bumping. Some of the toy boats were not as small as you might think, for when you got close to them you found that their main mast was taller than a man's head, and they were beautifully made, with everything ship-shape and ready for sea. To Stuart they seemed enormous, and he hoped that he would be able to get aboard one of them and sail away to the far corners of the pond. He was an adventurous little fellow and loved the feel of the breeze in his face, and the cry of the gulls overhead, and the heave of the great swell under him. As he sat cross-legged on the wall that surrounds the pond, gazing out at the ships through his spyglass, Stuart noticed one boat that seemed to him finer and prouder than any other. Her name was Wasp. She was a big black schooner flying the American flag. She had a clipper bow, and on her foredeck was mounted a 3-inch cannon. "She's the ship for me," thought Stuart, and the next time she sailed in, he ran over to where she was being turned around. "Excuse me, sir," said Stuart to the man who was turning her, But are you the owner of the schooner Wasp? I am, replied the man, surprised to be addressed by a mouse in a sailor suit. I'm looking for a berth in a good ship, continued Stuart, and I thought perhaps you might sign me on. I'm strong and I'm quick. Are you sober? Asked the owner of the Wasp. I do my work, said Stuart crisply. The man looked sharply at him. He couldn't help admiring the trim appearance and bold manner of this diminutive seafaring character. Well, he said at length, pointing to the prow of the Wasp out towards the center of the pond, I'll tell you what I'll do with you. You see that big racing sloop out there? I do, said Stuart. That's the Lillian B. Womrath, said the man, and I hate her with all my heart. Then so do I, cried Stuart loyally. I hate her because she's always bumping into my boat, continued the man, and because her owner is a lazy boy who doesn't understand sailing, and he hardly knows a squall from a squid. All right, I'm going to stop right there, and that's the middle of page 33, so I'm going to let you finish reading the last few pages on your own. And then you will answer the question response page over chapter 6, and then we're going to do a little bit of a fun activity called the mouse craft. So you're going to cut out all your mouse. There you go. See the picture. You're going to cut your mouse parts out and glue them on top of your writing paper. And then you're going to follow the writing prompt that is on Google Classroom. So make sure that you always use uppercase letters, punctuation, spacing between your lines, and your best handwriting. If you have any questions, please feel free to get a hold of me. Bye.